Hey guys, so I am back, and I kind of like this format that I'm going to be going off of, but I'm going to be talking before we get into the review that's listed in the video. So I just want to say hi to everyone. I'll kind of flip these around if that's enjoyable. Probably not. Just want to say hi and everyone, and if you're watching, thanks for coming back and watching a knife review. I know I haven't done one in a while. The primary reason is there's a lot of things that kind of have gone on in life. Nothing major, but I got into a few different hobbies, including motorcycling, and also I really have been hammering down my novel that I'm writing. I'm on the fourth draft of that. It's a science fantasy novel, and it's going to go off to the editor soon, so I'm really excited for that. But I didn't want to neglect this. I really like doing knife reviews, so I wanted to get back into it, and I want to make some more knife reviews and give you guys some more content and let you know about what I think about certain knives and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna get into a knife review. If you've seen the title, you guys know this knife, right? Yeah, you know this one. This is the 940, baby. Yeah, pretty knife. I love this knife. But you guys know we're gonna be reviewing the PM2 today. But if you have any questions about any of the knives I've done reviews on, this is the Ontario Rat 1. Just hit me up in the comments and I'll try to get back with you guys. But anyway, we are looking at the Spyderco PM2, and we're going to be doing a similar format that we've done before. What I like, what I don't like, and something unique, except I'm going to throw in something in the middle there. And what I'm going to throw in is what I don't mind about a knife. And what that is going to be kind of something neutral about the knife, something that I don't necessarily not something that I don't necessarily like, something that I don't necessarily dislike. It's just a neutral point for me that some people may love, some people may dislike, but it's not anything I hate and it's not anything I love about a knife. So we're going to add that along with what I like and what I don't like and something unique. So let's get into the PM2. Guys, the Spider-Man. I do love Spider-Man. He's a great superhero. Not as good as Thor, though. Let's get into some specs, guys. So the overall length of the Spyderco PM2 Paramilitary 2 is 8.24 inches. The blade length is 3.42. The steel on this one is S30V. Let's see if you can get that to focus. Yep, S30V. They make it in a lot of different steels. Closed length is edge length rather is 3.4 inches. So you're looking at just over 3 inches of cutting edge. It weighs 3.9 pounds. The blade thickness at its thickest is going to be 0.145, so that's 3.7 millimeters. This has G10 handles with liners in there. And this is a compression lock, and that's kind of an interesting lock, and we'll kind of get into what the compression lock is because it's very unlike a lot of other locks around. So let's get into what I like. So I do like the overall design of the Spyderco PM2. I think it is a great design, and you know, it's a fluid design. It's a natural design. There's so many ways to carry this knife, to hold this knife, to use this knife. That's what I love about it. It is such a usable design and such a practical design. It feels natural carrying this knife, both in pocket and when you're using it. So I really like the design of this knife. It feels right. I like the flat grind of this. Now you guys know that I usually don't love full flat grinds. This full flat grind is nice. It's got beef kind of where it counts. You can see that blade stock. But it just slices so beautifully. It's just such a clean slicer, and that's very common in a full flat grind knife. You know, the Ontario Rat 1 is going to be similar. It's got that full flat grind, and it just slices really smoothly. This is a great knife, but it's not quite as well designed as this one, I think. So another thing I love is the finger choil, and so that goes along with the overall design. Now the finger choil is awesome. For those of you guys who don't know what a choil is, it's this area in between. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Maybe not. So it's this area in between the blade and the handle, and you can see that Spyderco's really pronounced this, and it's made it very easy to grab that and get it really comfortable. So I really like the finger choil on this knife. It's even got jimping within that finger choil. You know, a knife like the Ontario Rat 2 has a choil right here, and you can really get up on that, and it's relatively comfortable, but it's not nearly as comfortable or grippy as the Paramilitary 2. Another thing I like is the overall fit and finish. Now, you guys can tell that this thing has been relatively used, right? I mean, it is a used knife, and I got it used. I've only had this a couple days, actually. This is the second PM2 I've had. They come in so many different colors, and you know, you can get them in satin finish and just about any finish you could want. But this is obviously the blacked out version. So, but the fit and finish of this knife, buying one new, handling them on the showroom floor. You guys know I live near Smoky Mountain Knife Works. It feels like a quality knife. It really does. Every noise that it makes, you guys can kind of hear that. You know, it opens up smoothly. It closes smoothly. It makes those noises that are satisfying to hear when you hold a knife. And there are a lot of other knives that make that. You know, the Benchmade 940 makes that kind of noise when you close it. When you open it too, it opens nice and smoothly. So the fit and finish, they've done a good job on this specific knife. This knife is also very lightweight for its size and kind of for what you get. So you're looking at under 4 ounces. I don't know exactly how much the rat weighs, but the rat weighs more than 4 ounces, guys. I think it's close to around 5. That's a whole ounce more for about the same cutting edge. And so I guess it's just about the milling of the liners. You know, there's some milling of those liners, and that's just going to lighten it up. But along with it feeling lightweight, it does not feel cheap. You guys know I do not like the Grivery version of the Benchmade Griptilian because it feels cheap. The same thing with the Bug Out. It feels cheap. And I know they're not cheap knives. I know they're fantastic and well-designed knives. I just don't like a knife to feel cheap. When I pull it out, I want it to feel nice in hand. So it's lightweight, but it doesn't feel cheap. And the 940 is very similar. I think this knife's only about 3 ounces, but it doesn't feel cheap. You know, it's aluminum handled. It's all steel construction. It's all metal. So you know, it feels nice, just like the PM2 does as well. By the way, just to get this out of the way, they make the standard Paramilitary, which is not compression lock, and we'll talk about that in a second. It is a standard liner lock, and it is tip down carry only, and that's probably the reason I haven't bought one, because I can't stand tip down carry knives. I know that they have their uses and they're very helpful in certain circumstances, depending on how a knife is deployed, but I just don't like tip down carry knives. Never will. So let's get, and so they make the Paramilitary 3 as well, which is about just under 3 inches, just essentially this, but a little bit smaller. Okay, I also like the compression lock. Now this compression lock is different. It's very different from what we've seen in a lot of other knives. Let's get this to focus. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to open this up and you guys will kind of see how this works. So there's a liner in there, and you see that stop pin as well. When that blade engages, that liner goes over to the side, right? So it's kind of like a reverse liner lock, but also you see that big thick pin right there. That when you're pressing things against this blade, that pin is taking the brunt of the force. So the liner is keeping it stiff, but that pin is really taking kind of the brunt of the force. The way I see the compression lock is kind of like what Cold Steel does with the Triad lock. It's kind of like your standard back lock, but with that huge pin giving it that extra push of strength. And so this is kind of like the smoothness of a liner lock with like the strength of a back lock. It's really cool, and it's very fun to play with. You know, we pretend like we use our knives all the time for everything. Most of the time we're just flicking them up and down while we're watching TV, right guys? So it's very fun to play with. Sorry that the sun kind of just came in, so the lighting might be a little bit off there. Anyway, compression lock is fantastic, and it's very enjoyable. Steel, don't need to talk about that much, but that is S30V. Great steel. It's not the most premium steel anymore. It used to be. You know, there's so many other options, M390, 20CV, Maximet, you know, just so many good options. But it's still a fantastic steel. I mean, it beats OS 8 out any day of the week. It beats a lot of other knives out. So, great steel. Great option. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. Another thing I really like is that it is American made. You can see that right next to the steel as well. Right on the other side, rather. Golden, Colorado, USA, Earth. That's fun. Like things that are American made. Like things that are made where you know that someone is making a living wage when they're making it. That's always a good thing. So, last thing I want to talk about is the jimping. We talked about the jimping in that finger choil. The jimping on the top is just perfect. I mean, that is the one thing that Spyderco gets almost perfectly every single time. With that ramp right there, the Spidey hole opening, you just get that perfect jimping, and your hand is going nowhere. Your hand locks into this, and I know that this is a popular blade with military, police personnel, so that is going to be fantastic for, you know, keeping your knife steady if you ever, God forbid, had to use it defensively. So let's get into what I don't mind. New section. This will be fun. Just a couple things. So I don't mind the clip. I don't know what they call this clip specifically, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's a clip. It works. It's not super deep carry, but it's also not super high. It doesn't sit super high in the pocket. So I don't mind that clip. It's perfectly usable. It's strong. And, you know, the G10 isn't so tough like on cold steel. Cold steel, get that figured out. That it tears up your pockets. So I don't mind the clip. And the price. You know, I've seen these everywhere from 150, 60 bucks to 150 or 160, not 60 bucks. That would be awesome. To, you know, around 200 bucks, all of which are reasonable. I don't think it's like an amazing deal, but I think it's a good deal. A lot of times with Spyderco, you're more paying for design than you are materials. But with this, I think that the materials and the design both stack up to be worth what you're paying. Okay, let's get in with what I don't like. It's not too much though. You guys know that I like a tip to have a good balance of precision and strength, and this tip does not have that. I have never seen one of these break. You know, I haven't heard many stories about them breaking or anything like that, but that tip is too precise for me, guys. I still love this knife, and I'm still going to keep it for a long time, maybe forever, but that tip is too thin. I prefer a tip to have a little bit more beef to it. Rat 1, it's relatively precise, but you know what? It's got a little bit more beef to it. I prefer something like that. If we're going to go with a thinner tip, more precise tip, this is what I'm going to prefer. If I can kind of get you guys to see that. There you go. So, tip is too thin. This is going to be more chunky, more beefy. All these reflections aren't helping. You can see that right there. So, too thin, but from what I've heard, it's plenty strong for what we actually are going to use our knives for. If I need something super strong, I will get a fixed blade out, of which I have a few. So, another thing I don't like is the blade to handle ratio. It's not horrible, guys. There are knives that are certainly worse, but the blade to handle ratio, you're talking, you know, there's like almost an 1.5 inch disparity between the two. So I don't love that. I wish it was a little bit closer. And the last thing I don't love, and this is about most Spydercos, is the box that it comes in is just not great. It's meh. It's what you see in a standard knife box. It's going to, you know, be what you get with an Ontario Rat 1, except you're paying 30 bucks for this and 160 to 200 bucks with this. Benchmade does it right, in my opinion. Yes, they're expensive, but these aren't all that often priced, these two. And when you get a Benchmade, boy, do you feel like you're just opening something beautiful up, in my opinion. You know, you have a nice box, comes in a sleeve, just some great information. So Spyderco, do what Benchmade does with their boxes. Can't cost that much more, and it just feels fun opening up that. Oh, hope I didn't scratch that. So let's get into what's unique. So Spyderco somehow manages to make incredibly functional knives while still being ugly. Yeah, I said it. I will stick by it. I have always disliked the way Spydercos look. Always. Always have. Maybe I won't always will, but there's a good chance I always will. Spydercos, I just think are ugly. I think that hole is ugly. I always have. It doesn't matter their design. Some designs do it better. The Spidey Chef does a great job of it. The Sleece Bowie does a good job of it, kind of incorporating it into the design. But this is just a giant hump, and it turns into this leaf-shaped blade, which is so incredibly functional, and it's incredible when you're using it, but it just looks ugly. And that kind of brings us into the philosophy of Spydercos, I think. Spydercos are beautiful because of their functionality. But if you have not used one or you know nothing about functionality of a knife, they're ugly. They just are. You show this to someone who doesn't know anything about the knife world and the knife community, they're going to think it's ugly. But that's okay, because knives are meant to be used. You know, there are some designer pieces, and that's fine, but knives are meant to be used, guys. You can see the person who owned this before, he used this knife. And that's awesome. And it still has so much life left in it, and I am excited to use it. Overall, do I recommend it? Absolutely. This is a fantastic knife. It's great if you like the smaller size. Go with the PM3. Might be legal in more places. The PM Paramilitary, the standard Paramilitary, is kind of its own animal. I might do a review on that someday, though it doesn't really catch my eye all that much, so I might not. But this overall, I would absolutely recommend the PM2. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm excited to be doing knife videos again. Let me know what you'd like to see me reviewed. Sorry about that. I'd love to, get some knives and keep reviewing them. Got a bunch coming up. I'm just looking over here at my knife case. I want to do, a bunch of different reviews, some fixed blades, some other classic knives as well. So let me know what you guys want to see, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.